Our last plant, everyone, also in the Solanaceae, is Solanum melongena, otherwise known as eggplant. Eggplant is kind of a North American term. I remember the first time I asked for eggplant parmesan in a restaurant, and um, everybody looked at me like I had six heads. It's aubergine is more commonly known for these beautiful plant fruit. If I'm barbecuing steaks for everybody, yeah, this is what I'm barbecuing for myself. Inch and a half thick, covered in steak spice, grilled. Wow, you know, yep, that's what I'm looking for. Anyway, Solanum melongena, as I mentioned in the previous slide, and I'll have another picture of it in the next slide, is they are a lot like capsicum. They take a long time. We start them indoors and very tender, not hardy at all for frost. Keep the water to them, and at the end of the season they'll start producing, and then they'll produce and produce and produce. We do a couple of varieties. We have like the finger ones that are pretty small, and then these bigger jobs. They're not a very popular plant. I've included a image or a video, so just have a look at that. It kind of is a pretty good video on how to grow them. What's everybody gonna have? You're gonna have five? Five potatoes? Hey, what's that? Just a second. Whoa. Is that good or what? What are you doing? You're eating all the cherry tomatoes? Well, okay, slowly. We need only 10. Only 10. Okay. Soil in the garden. That's it. What do you got? A snail. I think it's a worm. A worm. Okay. Nice. Whoa. It's because it was cooked on a Broil King. No, that's not a Broil King infomercial. That's just someone. I think it was my father's birthday, and we had some my siblings, some of them over with their kids, and so the kids and my kids and I were out in the garden harvesting before, and I just threw that together kind of for the family. It was good fun. A couple of things that I've been growing our own food for a few years, about 2016, like a serious garden. We used to have them. We were in Dubai. We'd kind of come home and have a bit of a vegetable garden because we were here for some of the summer, but we didn't really get into the canning or anything. We just kind of fooled around with it a little bit. My late father-in-law and good friend had a vegetable garden his entire life, and Krista was raised with one, and so he really got me into it. And one of the things that he mentioned, I was kind of lamenting the year that I lost all of my tomatoes, and I was really upset about it, and put in all this work, and it was kind of the end of the year. It was August, and we got blight, and I was been working on these bloody things since March, keeping them alive from seeds. And he said, gardening is one of those things that you don't do it for the money, and try to remember that there's when you're gardening, you're feeding not just yourself and your family, but you're feeding. There's one for yourself, one for the soil, and one for insects. And I think how I interpreted that is, yeah, you kind of, you grow some stuff for yourself, but also it's important to keep in mind that the animal kingdom, like this little guy here, we have usually we do sunflowers in our garden because it's fantastic for bees, and we never actually harvest any sunflowers. The birds do all that for us, but in return they generally leave the corn alone. We could we could do a whole bunch of stuff, but I've found over the years of working with experienced people like my father-in-law that have been doing it for a long time. You can work with nature or you can work against it. And, a few sunflowers in the garden, and you don't have to worry about netting your corn is kind of a nice way of working with nature. And one for yourself. I yeah, I live by that now, and don't mind having a kind of a animals get into, or insects get into some of our stuff and help themselves a little bit. It's kind of for them as well, and it's just a different philosophy, but it helps keep my garden organic and keep me kind of enjoying it. And I just want to share that with you as we kind of wrap up um, this lecture. By far, my favorite thing in horticulture is vegetable gardening, and by far, I do love my trees and palms, and I've got some favorites that I've shared with you. But vegetable gardening is just fantastic. I'd rather vegetable garden than watch TV or any of that stuff any day. It's fantastic, especially with the kids. And this image of the bee and the sunflower is kind of, to me, what it represents: connection with nature. And of course, it's not just about connection with nature and um, hanging out with the kids. There's some pretty fun stuff that comes along with vegetable gardening. This is an entire meal that I was doing for myself and a friend. I was at a friend's house, and I said, I'll bring dinner, and this is what I brought. And it was amazing, Of course, some cold beverages go really well with this, or some beverages that, in a bottle. But fantastic, like everything's organic, everything's freshly picked, and it costs next to nothing. And just yeah, I can't encourage you enough to take this on in your careers, and just have even a little bit, if you can't, have a few plants on your balcony or in a windowsill, and you just, if it's nothing more than the connection with nature and the occasional thing that you get to eat, it's well worth it, in my opinion. Last slide is from the fall last year, and Mackenzie's garlic is all in. She's got her seed garlic separated and ready to be planted, which we all know gets planted in the fall, November. And Krista's starting to make her salsa and pizza sauce. There's another shelf above this, and then another shelf, and this will be full. She'll have it jam packed with everything, and it's just it's lovely. I can't encourage you enough to take this on. A bit of a lifestyle, but there's two parts. One is tending to a garden and having the kind of desire, I guess, to plant seeds in under light, plant a tray of seeds in like this time of year, where tomatoes are all been planted for the last 3 weeks, and we will be tending to them until September. Not every day, they're not like animals, but they need a bit of work, maybe 10 minutes a day on average, all summer. If you're not watering, you're weeding. If you're not weeding, you're staking and tying, and fertilizing. We don't generally do that too much, but you're tending to stuff, and but you've got all fall, all winter, and like right now we still have spaghetti sauce and all the great stuff that she makes. And yeah, it's lovely. Anyway, folks, this is it. This is our last slide, and just wanted to kind of take a minute to thank you all for a great semester, great year. I know we're not finishing off the way any of us would like to, but you know, what do you want to do, right? But it doesn't mean that I can't thank you all personally and give you a bit of gratitude for listening and sharing this year with me. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you folks in person again any month now. Anyway, test Thursday. I'm sure you all do very, very well. I have no doubt about it, actually. And then we'll be in touch. Okay? Hopefully, you all have my number. Bye for now, everybody.